I should have gone home earlier that night. That's the thought that keeps eating me alive when I try to fall asleep. If I even can. It was supposed to be a simple job. I'm a technician, nothing fancy. Just checking the ventilation systems in an old industrial building on the outskirts of town. They told me it used to belong to the military decades ago, but now some private company was using it as storage. The place was dead quiet, abandoned looking, and reeked of rust and oil. I remember walking down that long, echoing hallway with my flashlight cutting through the dark. Pipes hissed overhead, the walls flaking with rot. At the far end, I noticed something strange, a dark stain spreading across the floor and wall, like tar leading through the concrete. The smell hit me next, something foul, like a mix of acid and rotting meat. I should have left. God, I should have left. But curiosity kills. I crouched down, shining my light on the black slime. It was moving, slowly, like it was breathing. I reached out with my wrench, poking it, and the floor gave out beneath me. It wasn't like falling into a hole. It was like the ground swallowed me whole. I was dragged through that black muck, and suddenly there was no building, no hallway, only darkness, stretching in every direction. When I hit the ground, it wasn't concrete anymore. It was some kind of surface, wet, sticky, and groaning beneath my weight, as if alive. I gagged on the stench of corrosion and blood. I stood up, my flashlight flickering, and I saw where I was. Endless corridors, rotting, shifting walls that oozed like they were melting. The architecture made no sense, angles bent the wrong way. Doors led into brick, staircases ended in ceilings. And the sounds, distant screams, dragging footsteps like something was hunting me. I'd heard of nightmares that felt too real, but this was beyond a nightmare. This was a place not meant for people. The first sign of life I saw was on the wall, a handprint, pressed deep into the surface, as if someone had tried to claw their way out. And the handprint was still wet. That's when I knew I wasn't the first one trapped here, and I sure as hell might not be the last. I staggered forward, my flashlight barely piercing the thick, suffocating darkness. Every step felt heavier than the last, like the floor itself was trying to hold me down. The walls, if they could even be called, that were slick, pulsating, covered in scratches that looked too deliberate to be random. I kept moving, desperate to find an exit, my breaths coming in ragged gasps. Then I saw at a door, old, wooden, cracked and warped, unlike anything that should exist in a place like this. I hesitated, my gut twisting with dread, but I had no choice. I opened it. Inside was a room of children's toys, ragged stuffed animals, dolls with missing eyes, teddy bears stitched shut at the mouths. One doll sat upright on a chair, soaked in that same black slime, staring directly at me. I gagged, spinning around and fleeing back into the corridor. The corridors stretched endlessly. I tried to mark my path, scratch the walls, anything to find a pattern, but every turn brought me back to where I had started. And then I heard it, a dragging, wet shuffle behind me, slow, deliberate, mocking. My blood ran cold. I ran faster, my shoes slipping on the sticky floor. I found another door. I opened it, and my stomach dropped. A massive hall, bodies hanging from hooks, swaying slightly. Their eyes, oh God, their eyes were blank, staring, unseeing. And they whispered, in unison, "He always finds. He always finds." I covered my ears, tried to shut it out, but the sound burrowed into my skull. My legs moved on autopilot, running through twisting hallways that changed with every glance. Every turn, every doorway seemed to mock me, leading me deeper into this living nightmare. I couldn't tell if minutes or hours had passed. I couldn't even tell if I was still human. The corridor stretched ahead, black as tar, and I knew he was close. The air grew thicker, heavier, like breathing through oil. My flashlight sputtered, dimming no matter how many times I smacked it. That dragging sound, closer now, the scrape of something ancient, patient. I forced myself forward, stumbling into another chamber. This one was different, bare walls, no slime, no grotesque structures, just emptiness. For a second I almost believed I was safe. Then I heard it, a laugh, low, guttural, like rusted metal grinding together. I turned, and there he was. At first my brain refused to register what I was seeing. A figure half-rotted, dripping with black filth, its face twisted into something human, yet utterly wrong. Its eyes didn't look at me, they pierced through me, like they already owned me. SCP-106, the old man. He didn't rush. He didn't lunge. He just stepped forward, slow and deliberate, each movement making the walls bend and corrode. Wherever his hand touched, the surface bubbled and melted, hissing as though reality itself rejected him. I froze. My body screamed to run, but my legs wouldn't move. Then he smiled. That was worse than anything. That broken, rotted grin, like he was savoring the fear pouring out of me. Finally my body obeyed, and I bolted. I don't remember choosing a direction, I just ran, the corridors twisting around me. Behind me, the dragging footsteps never hurried, never faltered. He didn't need to chase. He knew I was already his. Doors appeared in front of me, each one opening into something worse than the last. A morgue where the slabs writhed as if something beneath. The sheets were still alive. A staircase that spiraled endlessly downward, every step echoing with my own screams. A room full of mirrors that reflected not me, but him standing right behind me in every single one. I slammed door after door, my lungs burning, my throat raw. No matter how far I ran, he was always just a breath away. The nightmare pressed in, folding tighter, until I thought I'd go insane. And then through the corner of my eye, I saw it. A crack, a thin line of light splitting through the black wall ahead. A way out. But to get there, I had to pass him. When the red light finally dissolved into nothing, I stumbled forward, expecting to see the warehouse again. But it wasn't the warehouse. Fluorescent white lights hummed above me. The floor was sterile, metal panels bolted into place. The air smelled of disinfectant and ozone. My knees buckled as I realized I was standing in some kind of corridor, too clean, far too controlled to be anything other than a facility. I had escaped the pocket dimension, but not to freedom. Alarms echoed in the distance, muffled through thick walls. Then came the heavy steps, synchronized, disciplined. Armed guards rounded the corner, rifles trained on me before I could even raise my hands. I froze, chest heaving. every nerve in my body screaming that I had made a mistake. Down on the floor. I obeyed. My face hit the cold metal, arms stretched out. Rough hands yanked them behind me, restraints locking in place. I wanted to scream that I wasn't a threat, that I was just some unlucky guy who got pulled into a nightmare. But the looks on their faces told me they didn't see a victim. They saw an anomaly. They dragged me through the corridors. Every door we passed had a reinforced window, behind which shadows shifted too tall, too wrong, too silent. I realized with growing dread I was in their world now. The Foundation's. When they finally stopped, I was shoved into a bright room. White walls. A metal table bolted to the ground. Cameras in every corner. 2 people in lab coats entered, faces hidden behind surgical masks. One of them carried a clipboard. The other simply stared like I was already dissected in their mind. Subject has returned alive, the clipboard one said flatly, as if reading a grocery list. Mark the time of extraction. Containment protocols apply. I slammed my hands on the table. Listen to me. I don't know what the hell was going on. Some old man, he pulled me into that place, that thing. I barely made it out alive. The masked figures didn't react. Not really. One just scribbled something down. The other finally spoke, voice muffled but calm. If you survived exposure to SCP-106's pocket dimension, you are no longer classified as a civilian. You are Foundation property now. My mouth went dry. Property, not survivor, not witness, property. I leaned back in the chair, trembling, realizing that maybe escaping 106's hell wasn't survival at all. Maybe it was just the beginning of something worse.